What is poppin', squad? It's your boy, and today we're talking about something that I haven't seen too many people talk about, man. And that's pretty much where the meta has shifted and where the attention is going when it comes to these gear sets. Before I even start this, I'm going to be posting my top 10 changes needed to gear sets later on, probably later on today after you watch this video. It'll probably be up. But let's get into this. So first things first, let's talk about when 1.8 first dropped. I have played the PTS. I ran it dry. I ran every build I possibly could. That's before whatever tweaks they made to certain things like the house and how Striker worked and whatnot. And I already off the bat said Nomad is going to be the strongest build in the game. And for the most part, I stand by that. I still feel that sustainability and immortalism, if that's even a word, is the way to go. I feel like life over death works every time. If you're able to out sustain your opponent, you're going to win every fight. But at the same time, some people know how to use Predator and it can get kind of annoying, but it's not even as big as it used to be. And that kind of leads me to the whole point of this video, and that's like how things have changed as far as these gear sets. So one of the biggest things I noticed is not that many people like running Predator in my instances. I feel like the audience that was running Predator before they realized how powerful Striker was has been completely flip-flopped. The amount of Predators you used to see in the PTS where everybody's using it because it was broken or super powerful, all those users turned to Striker users who are basically not even running the 8K version. They're pretty much running the 7,000 firearms version, where they're like basically melting people even before they get their stacks, and they rely on the stacks to heal them, period. So they don't really need stamina. And I'm not going to say at all with SMG that the gear set's broken. It's no way in shape or form broken. But how do I word this without hurting a lot of feelings? Striker is definitely, because of how people are playing it, it definitely looks overtuned. It feels like the stacks are a little too much. I can definitely see them changing things when it comes to this build. I actually like it. I haven't been playing with it that much. You guys usually see me, I run Nomad, and I'm kind of used to only being able to do about 4,000 firearms worth of damage. When I put it on and I just like literally realized why so many people are using this, the amount of damage you can stack up and how easy it can stack up is just crazy. The fact that you can sustain crazy bleed damage even from Predator when you have 100 stack plus the damage you're doing is just surreal. You're able to hit 30k plus crits on people, and I don't care what build you're running, you're going to get melted. But am I going to say that if I had a choice would I change it? No, I wouldn't change how the way Striker works. I think it works amazing. It's by far one of the most fun builds in the game to run, obviously for obvious reasons. People want to melt, but if you're going to have a gear set like Striker, if you're going to have a gear set like Nomad and Predator, you need to make all of them that powerful. And I feel that I will explain in the video coming up. I'm not going to get into too much details to spoil it, but I feel some other builds need certain changes in order to compete with Striker, because as of right now, honestly, pound for pound, I think if you were to get the best player in the game and duplicate himself and make him 1v1 himself, chances are Striker will win even against a Nomad. And the reason I say this is because if they can somehow be amazing and keep up their stacks, there's no way a Nomad can successfully melt him unless it's like an EMP or whatnot. So that sounds crazy for me to say because Nomad is my favorite build in the meta right now. Tactician's kind of a letdown, we all know this, and pretty much it doesn't even compete in that sense. So these new gear sets, I don't care how OP people might think, like, oh, Hunter's Faith can one shot, it can't, not consistently. Firecrest can't really do nothing to a Striker but delay the inevitable like death that's gonna come when they finally get to shoot you. Tactician gets completely shredded, period. Even through your skill haste, you can't sustain that much damage. And I kind of feel like that's kind of why in State of the Game, when they talked about that they're paying attention to the builds, Striker was the one that the chat was saying the most. And it's not because necessarily maybe Striker isn't as dramatic as people say. It's because so many people are using it, and when a lot of people use something, that's kind of the first thing that the developers look at. Now that Predator is kind of being ignored because new Striker babies are coming, I kind of see them seeing Striker as a bigger threat, which, and honestly it is. I mean, at the end of the day, I feel a Striker can counter a Predator so easily, unless you're just completely onslaughting them with accuracy. But like I said, this is for situations that if it was two types of players, one trash and one good, then I mean that's not a good gauge. You're talking about majority of players using the same build for a reason, and that's how it always works out. When one player finds out how broken it is, they post a video or somebody gets killed by it, they see it, it spreads, everybody uses the same thing. That's kind of how it worked with 99% of the builds that came out. But I just feel like right now, Striker has everything you need in this meta. It can heal itself, and it can put out the most damage out of all the builds, period. And is that a problem? No, but it definitely calls for, if you don't want to nerf on Striker, best believe the other builds are going to get some kind of crazy buff in order to compete, because as of right now, why run anything else when you can heal and burst damage with stability and be able to farm NPCs easy because you have all that enemy armor damage? Why use anything else? And then that kind of leads me to my main point, which is basically like, why people are kind of hitting this build so hard and hitting the new meta and whatever. It is a Striker meta, guaranteed. There is no in between. That's pretty obvious that people know that this is by far the most universal used build in the game, and I don't feel like necessarily that it needs to be changed in any way. But I do think the more players play something and the more you see people using it, like that's where people gauge it as broken. If everybody's getting bodied by it, you come across situations where the only time you're dying is through a Striker, you're gonna call broken, you're gonna call OP, you're gonna say this and say that. And if you don't give the builds no other love, that's immediately, there's only so many things you can pay attention to and focus on as being too strong or whatnot. But for the most part, for all the people who think Nomad and Predator are just so ridiculously overpowered and you're ignoring Striker, I've spoken on it before. Striker is by far top 2 in my opinion, whether you reverse it with Nomad or not. Nomad being number 1 and Predator, and Striker being number 2, or Striker being number 1 and Predator. Wow, I'm over here speaking. Nomad being number 2, I still feel like at the end of the day, it's basically Nomad versus Striker. That's pretty much all you see. You may come across a Predator every now and then, but Predators get dusted off quick by a skilled Striker because it's the healing is just too much, because you don't want to face tank them if they have stacks. It's going to be nasty amounts of damage no matter what build you're running. Even if you're running another Striker build, it's just surreal amount of damage, and if you stop shooting, they're going back to full health because those stacks are keeping them. The difference between a 4-piece and a 6-piece is insane. You cannot keep your stacks with a 4-piece, but as soon as you put on that 6-piece, it just becomes too easy for you to keep those stacks up. By the time you drop off of your stacks, or the seconds run out, you can just go face tank another person and completely get all your stacks back and instant be God mode basically as far as damage, because nobody's going to face tank you. You will get shredded if they build it right, and that's like the light end of it. So as you can see in this gameplay, I was using Striker to prove my point, showing how strong it is when you do get strikes. Everybody knows most of the gameplays I see that I solo manhunt are using this build, and it's for good reason. It is the best damage dealing build in the game. It is what it is, and you can't deny it, and you will see changes if they decide to change any of the gear sets, period. So if you enjoy the build and you love it as is, my best advice for you is to enjoy it while you can, because I guarantee they will change it in some form, only because more people are using it than any other build, and their whole purpose of bringing classified sets and diversity to 1.8 is so people can use different things, and they need to give them reasons for that. So it's either, I see one of two things happening. One, Striker getting nerfed to the point where people are like irritated and mad and pissed and like, why would you do this, you ruined the build. Or every other build getting some crazy fine tune up that will save the game. Save the game in the sense that people will be able to keep their Striker as is, and some other people will be able to use their builds instead of us losing another good build to the winds of the nerf. So what would I rather have? I would definitely rather have all the other builds get some crazy rework, especially Alpha Bridge. Alpha Bridge is like the #1 that needs a rework, and I'm talking about that in my next video. But for the most part, that's how I kind of wanted you guys to talk about today. Hopefully you guys enjoy, man. As you can see, Striker is still the meta. If I was to give a meta crown to one build, one gear set, it would definitely be Striker. It would not be Nomad, because those are you can deal with Nomads and deal with Predators pretty easy, but Strikers are by far the hardest build to deal with when you're going against somebody who knows what they're doing. So it's pretty much it. Thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for that top 10 video dropping soon. I love y'all. Thank y'all for almost 35K. Appreciate it, man. Your boy's dropping bangers for y'all. It's been real. Your boy is out.